Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth.
How are you?
This body cam video shows the moment police say a potential tragedy was averted.
Put your hands behind your back.
Atlanta police officers detaining 49-year-old Billy Joe Cagle, who officials say threatened to shoot up the busiest airport in the world.
This individual did have a semi-automatic weapon, and this individual was mentally challenged. And when you have those combinations together, it can turn out to be deadly.
Surveillance video shows Cagle parking his pickup truck right outside Hartsfield-Jackson Airport's South Terminal shortly before 9:30 this morning. Once inside, he's seen walking right up to a TSA checkpoint.
He seemed to be very interested in the TSA check-in area, which you can see was heavily crowded with travelers.
Authorities say they were tipped off about what Cagle was up to from his own family members.
Cartersville Police Department was alerted by the family of Mr. Cagle that he was streaming on social media, that he was headed to the airport, in their words, to shoot it up.
After receiving that call from Cagle's family, officers in Atlanta canvassed the area. Less than 15 minutes later, police had the 6'3", 320-pound suspect in custody. Authorities believe Cagle was headed back to his truck to get an assault rifle, which had 27 rounds of ammunition. He was unarmed when he was taken into custody. Tonight, authorities grateful to the officers who spotted Cagle and those who said something.
27 or more lives could have been lost today.
Now, that was just yesterday, not even 24 hours ago. And as soon as I saw this story, I gotta tell you, I was shocked. Shocked, I tell you. I simply cannot believe that such a thing would happen. After all, to hear the white supremacists on Reddit and 4chan and Twitter tell it, it's black people who are the ones who shoot up grocery stores and schools, and churches and schools, and movie theaters and schools, and airports, and did I mention schools? I've never seen someone from outside the black community accused of such a thing. You know, I'm sure that people are bone tired of this kind of thing happening, indeed fatigued, but we don't hear much about that, which is why it's the subject of this morning's briefing. See, the white supremacists have a media monopoly, and that includes social media. That way they can push whatever outrageous lies they want through their algorithms and flood the zone with it. That's where memes like so-called black fatigue come from. Of course, we all know that that's one of those made-up things that racists like to throw around as their memes, but if there is indeed a black fatigue, then common sense says that there's a white fatigue as well, correct? And yet you don't see any of the people who are so eager to be pushing their so-called black fatigue memes ever talking about that. And there's a reason for it. As long as we're distracted talking about some hood rat acting out in Walmart, we're not talking about someone from the dominant society shooting up the Walmart or the airport. Only under white supremacy can you have people who are more interested in whining about some black person raising their voice than they are that there's a white person with a gun killing people. After Charlie Kirk got murked, there were white supremacists threatening HBCUs, and you had a number of them who actually trespassed at Tennessee State University and started harassing the black students. When you look at all of the rancor that's going on with government policy right now, who are the people responsible for it? Not black people. And yet we're not talking about white fatigue. Well, the reason that that's not a subject that comes up in the white media or social media is because there's nothing the society can do to punish this behavior. A black child is falsely accused of whistling at a white woman, and he's kidnapped, tortured, and murdered. His killers never punished. On the other hand, you got a Brock Turner or a Drew Clinton who rapes a woman, and the judges bend over backwards to make sure that these guys don't go to prison. In fact, in open court, they say we can't send him to prison because that would ruin his life. Never mind the fact that these guys ruined some innocent woman's life. Recently, Elon Musk was on Twitter whining. Jesus, when is he not whining? He's the world's oldest baby. And he was griping that his DOGE punk, Big Balls, was apparently tuned up in D.C., allegedly, and that the judge on the case gave the teens who he accused of attacking him probation. Which, by the way, is totally in line with what white offenders get for far more serious crimes. But phony Stark was complaining, saying that if the racial roles were reversed, the white kids would be in prison. Apparently, the world's richest man is also the world's most illiterate, because black people have been keeping a near daily tally of incidents where white assailants attack black children and are not punished. I responded to Elon's online gripe by reminding everyone about how a white 15-year-old, John Sheeran, tried to drown a black child. He pleaded guilty to attempted murder. Pleaded guilty to attempted murder. He didn't fight the charges because he knew that he couldn't. He was guilty as hell and he knew it. But he also knew that white privilege would allow him to get away with it, just like it allowed Brock Turner, Drew Clinton, and Ethan Couch and countless others to commit rapes and even murders and never see the inside of a prison cell, or get any sort of criticism from the white media, and certainly no strictures put in place by white legislators. And, of course, this Shearing character was right. Instead of getting prison like he deserved, he got probation. For the attempted murder of a child, he admitted that he did it. He pled guilty to it. And they gave him probation. No prison time. And this degenerate was proud of what he had done. Racial immunity from law. Now, that was just 6 months ago, but of course no outrage from Elon Musk, and none from his online chorus of inbreds either. I posted about it on Twitter, and it seems Elon's fans took some time away from flinging feces inside their single-wide primate pens just long enough to hurl racist invective at me. So the truth enraged them because liars hate the truth. And talk about a total lack of self-awareness. They're claiming that Big Balls is a victim of racism from the courts, when the only reason anyone even knows who this creep is because he and his pal Marco Velez made headlines with their asinine antics working for DOGE. And that guy, Marco Velez, you'll recall he was the one who conveniently was right there on the scene to take photos of his buddy Considine. Velez has a racial scandal of his own in his past when his own racist Twitter tweets came back to haunt him. The guy who posted that he was racist before it was cool, and this is the guy who took the photos of Big Balls. And these are the people who we're being told are victims of racism? Isn't it amazing how this guy has blood on himself when his shirt is over his shoulder and there's no rips or tears in it? This whole thing looks staged as hell. But white supremacy is all about having it your own way. Double standards, triple standards, which makes it easier for the dominant society to have no standards. The judge in this case did the right thing. Not only was her ruling in accordance with the law, but it's also in accordance with what the standard sentence is that's given to non-black offenders for the exact same charge. A racist judge, on the other hand, would be trash like James Gosnell, the now former South Carolina judge who threw racial slurs at black defendants in open court and who, during the arraignment of mass race killer Dylann Roof, demanded that the public give its sympathy to Roof's family instead of the black people that he murdered. Gosnell's currently facing charges for raping children, some babies as young as 3 months old. That's a racist judge. That's someone who should be protested. That's somebody who should not be on the bench but in a cage. But the selective racist outrage makes total sense. When trash like Sheeran try to kill a black child and are allowed to walk even after they plead guilty to attempted murder, well, that's just the system working exactly as intended. I chronicled this for you on my Friday Crime Reports. On the other hand, when a black defendant is given the same sentence for a far, far less serious charge, then suddenly there's something wrong with the judges. So phony Stark and his gang of babbling baboons can miss me with their phony outrage. What they're really angry about is that they saw the law being applied to a black defendant the same way that's always applied to white defendants. This is what people are tired of. This is what people have fatigue over. This is behavior that the public is beyond fatigued with, but is still subjected to it because of white supremacy. But you can tell the point. These phony narratives are only possible in environments where white supremacists can control the algorithms and the headlines and decide what is seen and what is not. That's how they turn their lies into other people's reality. We heard a lot about a white woman on a metro train being killed. But we've heard nothing about Ethan Couch, who killed 4 white people and got 10 years probation. He didn't get prison for that. He got 10 years probation. The only reason that he actually went to jail was because he skipped out on his parole. This phony outrage is what enables real atrocities. Black people demand equal justice under the law, but those who push false memes like black fatigue demand a continuation of racial immunity from the law. Charlie Kirk claimed that he would be worried if he got on an airplane and saw that there was a black pilot.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Meanwhile, black commercial airline pilots have flown with a perfect operational record. There hasn't been even one commercial plane crash that had a black pilot in the United States. This despite there being over 8,000 black commercial pilots in the U.S. Virtually 100% of the airline crashes in the U.S. have been planes with white pilots. And yet, Charlie Kirk and the rest of his racist pals who love to make up phony black crime stats, they had absolutely nothing they could make up regarding black airline pilots. And yet they kept claiming that, well, you should be worried. After all, merit, you see, merit. So are people who claim to be so fatigued with the occasional black passengers disrupting a flight also fatigued with white pilots who crash those flights? You have case after case of white pilots who were arrested for being drunk on a flight, arrested for having a mental breakdown. Say, remember that black pilot who lost it and began ranting or got drunk and had to be arrested, or who started ranting irrationally to the passengers? Me neither. But apparently Charlie Kirk and his sycophants had psychotic daydreams about it because they imagine that there's some epidemic of black pilots, all of them unqualified of course, and that they're crashing planes left, right, and center. They just can't tell you about any examples of them, that's all. Meanwhile, there was yet another incident, this time in Chicago, where a United plane clipped the tail of another aircraft. And yet, as usual, the Charlie Kirk wannabes had absolutely nothing to say about the pilots involved in that incident, or any of the others before it. So the same way these people who claim to be so concerned about black Walmart customers aren't concerned about white Walmart shooters, it's the same way they're also so concerned about black pilots who have a perfect operational record, but say nothing about white pilots who don't. Pointing out this fact isn't racism. Denying it, however, is, because the only way you can make time to whine about black customers, passengers, and pilots is if you've decided that being killed, injured, or harmed doesn't matter, so long as the person who does it isn't black. White supremacy is a death cult. In fact, it's a suicide cult that doesn't care about its own survival, even the lives of its own children. Keeping power is what's important to the white supremacist, not keeping alive. This is a very important conversation that needs to be had, but predictably you got the same usual suspects and bad actors doing everything that they can to distract and divert attention elsewhere. Well, for those people who claim that we have to stop being so sensitive about certain topics, all right, let's discuss this one. Because it's way past time that all the phony talking points about black fatigue were finally given a rest. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Kunta Kente, Henry Mitchell, Glenda Tice, Tommy Robinson, and Michael Gilmore. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.